Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. I was doing what I do, looking at things on the internet, and came across a headline that I don't know, a little bit confused by, and thought, you know what, hey, I'm going to read through this with you and see what we can figure out. This is from the Congressional Budget Office, and the headline is Income of Working Age Veterans Receiving Disability Compensation. This report just came out December 14th, 2023. So wanted to share it with you here, and glad you made it. Hit the thumbs up for me, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. The two asks that I have now is please hit that thumbs up. It doesn't cost you a nickel, and let the video run. That helps to put this in the hands of other veterans that are looking for this type of information. So this is one of those things where I'm sure it's going to be a bit legalese, right? I mean, well, it's going to be read between the lines on stuff, but it's reading this type of stuff where we might pick up little nuggets of future actions, I think. So anyway, let's read through it and see what we can figure out. So again, the headline is Income of Working Age Veterans Receiving Disability Compensation. It's a report that came out December 14th, 2023, and again from the Congressional Budget Office. So CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, compared the earnings, personal income, and household income of working age male veterans who receive disability payments from the Department of Veterans Affairs with those veterans who did not receive such payments. The Department of, so what they're trying to do here is they're already, right? So it's two different things. One, I don't know if you can hear that. I think my chicken's having an egg. So laying an egg, whatever. So they're comparing earning veterans, right? Earning income, those that receive VA disability and those that don't. And already I can kind of see the writing on the wall, potentially. I mean, I could be wrong. What if the earning capacity of veterans is the same, whether they're receiving disability or not? Remember, disability is supposed to offset your earning capabilities. So now, why are they doing this? Why are they comparing this, and what could result from it is really the question for me. All right. The Department of Veterans Affairs compensates veterans for medical conditions or injuries that occurred or worsened while, at least they said that occurred or worsened. I just did a video this morning on that, and they leave that out. They're like, it was either made worse or was a result of your time in service. So this is good. For medical conditions that or injuries that occurred or worsened while they were on active duty. Occurred is everything, right? That's the whole pie. It just showed up. I don't know. The military didn't cause it. I just got it, right? Okay. So I'm starting to get all hyped up because of just the way this thing is kind of shaping up. So I'm not sure where we're going here. All right. So occurred or worsened while they were on active duty in the military. In fiscal year 2022, VA spent $125 billion, and that was in 2022 dollars, so they're not including any sort of inflation, on disability payments for 5.3 million beneficiaries. By law, those payments are based on VA's disability ratings that reflect as much as practicable, whatever, you know what I mean, the severity of the veteran's service-connected conditions and the average earnings they would be expected to lose as a result of those conditions. So it's shaping up like I thought already, right? So let's compare veterans who are out there making money. Some have disability compensation and some don't. Is there really a difference? Because if there is, then maybe some changes need to happen, and it's probably not positive changes for us. This is important. All right, moving on. How frustrating. All right, for this report, the Congressional Budget Office compared the earnings, personal income, and household income of veterans who have disability rating with those of veterans who do not have one. The agency The agency's analysis focused on differences between those groups for working age men ages 22 to 54 from 2017 to 2019. Okay, so they took that chunk of time, 2017 to 2019, and for ages 22 to 54. And again, they're comparing and contrasting vets in those age ranges and time frames with no disability compensation and those that did have disability compensation and were earning money. Okay? Male veterans who received VA disability compensation, including those who did not work. Including those who did not work. All right. Sorry, I guess I was wrong. All right. Had an average annual earnings of $52,200. 16% less than the earnings of veterans without VA disability rating. Oh, okay. I don't know why. I mean, I think that the reason why, in my mind, that it's that gap of 16% is because of the including those who don't work. So maybe you live in a low-cost area. Maybe you're retired from the military, because guess what? You can be in that age range, 22 to 54 and be retired from the military. Obviously not at 22, but prior to age 54, you could sure bet you could be retired from the military and have 100% rating and not work, because now you live somewhere where you can survive and not work. So now you're not working, but your income is driven lower than if you were to go work. So there's some people that aren't working, and that's what's driving this down, in my opinion. Let's see. Earnings of veterans without VA disability rating. Median earnings, the midpoint value of veterans with a rating were also less by 12%. CBO did not adjust any of those calculations for demographic characteristics. Regression analysis, which accounts for such characteristics, indicates that veterans with a rating of 10 to 20% earned about the same as similar veterans with no rating. Veterans with a rating of 30% to 60% earned slightly less, and veterans with a rating of 70% or more earned much less. Annual earnings were substantially lower for veterans with high disability ratings, a finding driven in part by lower labor force participation among veterans with a high rating. For veterans who were not in the labor force, it is unclear whether poor health meant that they could not work, whether the extra income from VA allowed them to exit the labor force, or whether they left the workforce for other reasons, which quite frankly is probably a good thing. CBO also, and here's the thing. Look, man, this is shaping up to be an okay thing, right? But here's the worrisome part for me, anyway. I mean, I don't know. I kind of look at everything, right? So good that this is shaped up this way. Bad that they keep doing these comparisons. Unless it results in a higher rating, I guess. I don't know. A higher pay, right? Anyway, so let's jump back into it here. CBO also looked at the earnings of male veterans who were potential workers, those who were not students and did not report functional disability, medical conditions that cause substantial difficulty with physical and mental activities. Veterans in that group had the same general earning patterns as all working age veterans, but differences in earning between those with and without VA disability ratings were smaller. Overall, veterans, this is probably the important part, overall, veterans with a disability rating who were potential workers had average annual earnings that were lower by $1,900 or 3% than the earnings of those without a rating, and fewer of them were in the labor force. Median earnings, which are not skewed by extremely high or low values, yielded a different result, indicating that veterans with a rating typically earned 5% more than veterans without a rating. Regression analysis suggests, however, that veterans with a rating of 10 to 20% earned the same as veterans with no rating and similar demographic characteristics, and that veterans with higher rating earned less. The average personal income, earnings plus other income, of all male veterans who received VA disability compensation was about 10% higher than those veterans who did not, mainly because VA disability payments were greater on average than any differences in earnings. So that's not good, right? So if the idea is you're trying to have VA compensation bridge your deficit in earning capacity, then effectively with your VA disability rating and income, you should not be higher. You should be the same. But this is saying that we're 10% higher. So it says, again, the average personal income of all male veterans who received VA disability compensation was about 10% higher than that of veterans who did not, mainly because VA disability payments were greater on average than any differences in earnings. That's worrisome. The annual household income of all veterans, regardless of disability status, was more than $100,000 on average. That concludes this report. I don't like this type of stuff because I feel like it's people digging in our business, right? It's the Congressional Budget Office, and I already know that some people say, well, they just do that, and look, somebody is telling them to do it, and it's not. This is how the writing's on the wall, right? This is when things start to happen. So my rebuttal to this is just, from reading this, what my rebuttal would be to any proposed reduction. So anybody who's watching this, which I don't know if there is, who hang on 12 minutes, but my rebuttal to a proposed reduction, because the data shows that veterans with disability compensation are actually being overcompensated in a way, because they're going higher than the average earning capacities of veterans with no veteran VA disability. So my rebuttal would be, you cannot reduce it because you do not know how long a veteran receiving disability compensation will stay in the workforce. The burnout will be much sooner. The longevity of the work-life span is going to be drastically reduced. And it's because of that is where the income earning potential is really affected, is the longevity piece, right? So you take somebody with disabilities and you say, you got to work till you're 70, it's not going to happen. You take somebody with disabilities and say, you got to work till you're 55. Okay, I can make it to 55, but that's it. You take somebody with no disabilities and you say, work till 70, they can, right? So that would be my rebuttal, and my stance kind of to combat any of that data is the longevity piece of earning ability for disabled veterans is not there compared to those that are not. And therefore reduction is voided out. And in fact, we actually need an increase in our VA compensation, period. Thank you. So that would, just kind of coming up with something off the top of my head, because I have to think about, I guess I don't, but what I think about is, okay, if something happens here, how do we combat that there? How do we drive it this way? How do we do this? And it's the whole chessboard, right? So as I read through this, that would be, again, my rebuttal. So thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.